"We'll kill you and the cubs." The soldier said it like a maintenance note, something already filed and approved. He spoke in trade common, slow and careful, as if the human woman might not understand words spoken without claws behind them. Mara Holt did not scream, she did not plead. She did not raise her hands. She only tightened her grip on the medical satchel and stepped half a pace forward, placing herself between the armored soldier and the 3 cubs huddled behind her legs. That was the first mistake the soldier made. The second was forgetting what humans really were. The cubs were small, no bigger than dogs, all silver-gray fur and 2 large eyes, their ears flattened tight against their skulls. They belonged to the Kaydel, a species known across the Perseus Arm as efficient hunters and terrifying when provoked. Adult Kaydels stood 3 meters tall, digitigrade, with bone-reinforced forelimbs and teeth evolved to shear armored prey. The cubs, however, were soft. Soft enough that the council had classified them as non-combatant biological assets. Soft enough that Mara had been assigned to treat them when a plasma surge tore through their nursery module during a pirate skirmish. She had stitched burns, stabilized fractured bones, and sung under her breath while the cubs whimpered through sedation. She had stayed when the evacuation alarm sounded. She always stayed. Now the corridor smelled of ionized metal and blood. Emergency lights painted the walls red, and at the far end stood 6 armored soldiers in matte black exosuits bearing the sigil of the Directorate. Their leader lowered his rifle a fraction, optics glowing. "You are sheltering hostile juveniles," he said. "Directive says eliminate witnesses," Mara finally spoke. "They're children," the soldier's helmet tilted. "They're predators." "So am I," Mara replied quietly. Behind her, 1 cub let out a tiny, broken sound. Mara felt it before she heard it, the vibration in the deck plating, a subharmonic thrum that set her teeth on edge. She knew that sound. Every human on frontier stations learned to recognize it, even if they didn't know why. The station's deep-range sensors had gone silent 10 minutes ago. That was the 3rd mistake. The soldier gestured with his rifle. "Move aside, human." "You're irrelevant." Mara didn't move. She knelt instead, slowly, deliberately, lowering herself to the cub's eye level. She set her satchel down, hands open and visible, and spoke softly in Kaydel, a language she had learned not because she was required to, but because it helped calm frightened patients. "Stay close," she murmured. "Eyes on me." The cubs pressed into her back, small claws hooking gently into the fabric of her jacket. The soldier scoffed. "You think they'll remember you when they grow up?" "You meet to them," Mara smiled. "You don't know apex predators," she said. The corridor lights flickered. The thrum became a roar. The first adult Kaydel did not enter through the door. It came through the wall. Reinforced durasteel folded inward like wet paper as 3 meters of muscle and bone and fury exploded into the corridor. The impact crushed 2 soldiers' instantly, armor crumpling, bodies flung aside like debris. The creature's roar hit with physical force, a pressure wave that shattered lights and sent shockwaves through the deck. The remaining soldiers opened fire. It didn't matter. Plasma bolts scorched fur already marked with old battle scars. The Kaydel barely slowed, its forelimbs sweeping sideways and removing a soldier's head with bone-shattering precision. Then there were more. 2, 3, 5. They came from ventilation shafts, from maintenance access points, from places the soldiers hadn't even known existed. Massive forms, eyes burning gold, bodies moving with lethal coordination. The Directorate soldiers broke formation. They always did. Mara curled tighter around the cubs as the corridor became a storm of violence. She didn't look at the killing. She didn't need to. She felt it in the deck, in the air, in the way the cubs' trembling eased, not worsened, as the roars surrounded them. 1 soldier stumbled backward, armor cracked, weapon gone. He fell hard onto the deck only meters from Mara, visor shattered enough that she could see his eyes. They were wide with terror. "This wasn't in the intel," he gasped. Mara met his gaze. "No," she said. "It never is." A shadow fell over him. The Kaydel Alpha, the mother, lowered her massive head, jaws inches from the soldier's chest. Her fur was scorched, her flank bleeding, but her stance was unbroken. The cubs whimpered. The Alpha paused, her head turned. She looked at Mara. For a heartbeat that seemed to stretch forever, predator and human regarded each other. The Alpha's nostrils flared. She scented the human antiseptics, sweat, fear, and something else. Something familiar. Care. The Alpha stepped back. Slowly, deliberately, she lowered herself onto her haunches and inclined her head, not a bow, but an acknowledgement. Then she turned and ended the soldier. When the silence finally came, it was heavy. Broken armor smoked. Emergency lights sparked and died. The remaining soldiers lay still. Mara exhaled shakily and checked the cubs, hands steady from long practice. "You're safe," she whispered. A massive clawed hand reached out not toward the cubs but toward her. Mara froze. The Alpha extended one talon, blunt and scarred, and gently touched Mara's shoulder. Not a threat. A promise. Later, much later, the council would review the footage. They would note that the Directorate strike team had violated 13 treaties. They would argue about jurisdiction, about classified orders, about whether the human medic had acted within protocol. They would not argue about one thing. The Kadal did not attack the station. They withdrew, with their cubs. And one human. Mara woke in a cavernous chamber lit by bioluminescent veins running through stone. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of fur and earth. The cubs were curled against her, sleeping. Across the chamber, dozens of Kadal watched her in silence. The Alpha approached. "You protected them," she said, her voice resonating not through sound alone but through bone and instinct. Mara swallowed. "That was my job." "No," the Alpha replied. "That was your choice." She gestured with her head. "The Directorate hunts us. They will return." "I know," Mara said. The Alpha's eyes narrowed. "You may leave, or you may stay." Mara looked at the cubs. She didn't hesitate. "I stay." Months later, when the Directorate fleet arrived over Kadal space, they found something unexpected. Human ships. Not warships. Hospital ships. Logistics carriers. Civilian escorts. And behind them, lurking in asteroid shadows and nebulae Kadal warpacks, silent and ready. The broadcast that followed was short. "This is Mara Holt," the human said calmly. "You threaten my patients. You threaten my family." A pause. "Leave." The fleet withdrew. They never came back. Across the galaxy, the lesson spread quietly, like a warning etched into bone. You can threaten a human. You can even kill one. But if you threaten their children, if you threaten the ones they choose to protect, you will learn, too late, that apex predators recognize each other. And they protect their own.